welcome to Bayou Time. I'm Jacob DeGate, and thank you for joining us tonight. We're joined by Reggie Dupre, who is the Terrebonne Levee District Executive Director, someone that most of you all are very well familiar with. We also have two new guests who are making their HTV debuts. We have Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office Sergeant Dakota Fitch, and we have Brandon Arsenault of All South Consultant Engineers. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. We thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, now Reggie, again, the storm, a lot of effort goes into preparing for the storm, but then there is also the work that remains afterwards. I know we have a lot of debris on the levees. Can you tell us, I guess, kind of where we are in the conditions of the levees and all that's going on with the levee district?
So overall, for Hurricane Ida, for most of Terrebonne Parish, I think all of it, we had was known as a reverse wind or wind out the north. But it did push a lot of water from the Lake Boudreaux Basin to the south against the levees. You had 120, 140 mile an hour winds, category 4 winds for several hours doing this. And we had talked in prior shows about we did have 5 floodgates which were damaged, especially the HNC Bubba Dove floodgate, which now is back in Dulac and should be operational in the next couple of days. But the main thing we want to talk about today, I guess, is the debris, what we're doing with it, and we have these two guys, Brandon and Dakota, is going to talk about how to identify, if somebody has personal property, boats or whatever. But overall, the main area with a lot of debris on the levees is between the Cocodrie or Petit Caillou floodgate going north to just above the Bush Canal floodgate. I'd say 95% of the debris on the levees fits in that 6.5 or 7 mile area. And it's a lot. I mean, we have steel hull boats, big, trawler boats. We have, small watercraft, recreational boats. We have, might have some vehicles. I saw some 18-wheelers in the bayou that didn't even quite make it to the levees. And a lot of marsh grass, a lot of fuel tanks, a lot of large fuel tanks. I'm talking about 3,000 or 4,000 gallon fuel tanks. And, you name it, it made it on the levee. So we developed a 3-phase process in order to get this out, and then I'll yield to these other guys. First of all, we had a contractor pile up the stuff on the edge of the levee. Then phase 2 was to we awarded a contract in order to take this material, because these 2 levees are not accessible by highways, put it on deck barges, and we leased some property to bring it near Highway 56. In the last and final phase, after meeting with Parish President Dove and Chloe Knockhand with the Solid Waste Department, is going to be to take this material, once we get it to the leased location property, is going to be loaded on the trucks and treated as regular FEMA debris. And the parish FEMA debris contractor will take it from there to their final disposal site. So that's the overall scope of what's going on. And, these guys, and Brandon is a professional engineer. We've assigned him to be in charge of these efforts. And, of course, Dakota, Sergeant Fitch, is our liaison with the Sheriff's Office. And he did almost the same thing, but this is much bigger than for Hurricane Barry, when we had a lot of debris on the levees for Barry. But that was the learning one. This was the big one. So,
okay, let me ask. I know a lot of viewers are familiar overall with the Morganza system. What I guess reaches are we talking about?
Well, it's reaches H2, which is the 3.5 miles between the Cocodrie floodgate and Placid Canal. And then reach H3 is between Placid Canal to Bush Canal. Most of the debris and vessels and other items are all on those levees. We have some debris that was on the Bush Canal levee, but that appeared to be more marsh grass and not really recoverable items. And then some of it on the lower part of Reach I, just north of the Bush Canal floodgate. So just going down Little Caillou, when you get from Boudreaux Canal to the road gate and floodgate at Cocodrie, that 6.5 or so miles is the main zone that we're talking about, where we have all of these problems.
All right, and we're seeing some pictures on the screen. Some of those are, some vessels, some boats. Sergeant, let me ask you, How are, I guess, are you going about identifying who owns those? And is that one, I guess, area or type of property that's, I guess, a little bit easier than some of the other ones that don't have registration?
The vessels, we're getting the boater registration through Wildlife and Fisheries, and we're contacting the owners and giving them the opportunity to come and speak with Brandon and the contractors so they can recover their items. If it's not a vessel or if we cannot contact them, then we're going through other options as far as trying to post it on social media and using HTV and the newspaper, just so we can see if someone wants to come and claim these items. If they come to claim it, we do require that you have identification and something to show that the property does belong to you if it doesn't have any registrations on them.
Okay, and I guess something, you know, that could include like pictures or any, you know, specific descriptions of...
Pictures, descriptions, any special markings that you have on it, any different paintings, if you painted any pictures on your property, or if a lot of it, I guess, is through Facebook. People take Facebook photos, so we are using the social media to be able to identify these items for people also.
For people that are wondering, you know, whether or not the type of property that they may have lost, if that's something that the levee district would have, who would, I guess, how would they contact or where would they look for that information?
They can contact the sheriff's office at 876-2500 and ask to speak to me. I have a copy of the list, and we also have pictures of the property that is out there. And I'll meet with them, have them identify their property, and then we will get with Brandon at All South, and they can get with them to see what they need to do to be able to remove their property.
And this could be, you know, from little things such as kayaks all the way to big, heavy machinery.
Yes, we have some kayaks, we have pedal boats, steel hulls, outboards, party barges, just different things that washed up.
Okay, and it's my understanding that you compiling a list, and that list will be published, get out in the paper, you know, for a complete, I guess, a general detail of what all the items that the levee district has
We'll
located.
put it on the Facebook for the levee district site too.
Yes, it's going to be put out on social media and also in the paper to notify everyone that these are the items that we do have that washed up on the levees. And we're going to also put the sheriff's office number so they can contact me if they want to claim their items.
Okay, Brandon, let me ask you, what, you know, since you're kind of in charge of making sure that the removal process goes smoothly, that the levee maintains intact and not damaged, what kind of things are you looking for in a removal plan for these people to be able to remove their items?
Well, as you mentioned, it is really important that we know exactly how these guys are going to go about removing their personal belongings from the levee. We are in the middle of an active hurricane season still. It's not just a cleanup effort where we can go and push everything out the way and destroy the levee. The grass growth on the levee, as minor as it may seem, is monumental in supporting these structures and wave action that comes during the storm and allowing our protection that we do have to be able to be held up. So they have to have a plan to be able to minimize damage on the levees and come out there and actually execute it in a safe manner as well. It is an active work site. We have 3 contractors working on this levee section. We just had the U.S. Army out there as well. They have, you know, evacuated from the site. They've done, but we have guys and equipment moving on the site day in and day out, and we can't just have anybody going on a levee and claiming that at any random time. But if they get in touch with Sergeant Dakota Fitch, as we mentioned earlier, we'll plan a site visit. We have vessels available to bring people to and from the levee, and we'll come up with a plan to assist them the best that we can.
Now, you mentioned several contractors out there. Are those contractors available for people that need to hire somebody to remove their belongings? Or can they contact those contractors to help them with that process?
Yes, they sure can. The primary purpose of the contractors on a levee is to rid it of the debris so we can get it off of there and be able to maintain it and cut grass, bush hog, normal operation of the levees. But yes, they can contact any of the contractors at any time. We have lowland construction is on site. We also have sea level construction as well on site.
Okay, and what happens for the people out there who realize that their stuff may be out there, that it has been identified as their property, but they're no longer interested in it, and they don't care if they ever get it back? What are you telling those people?
Well, we telling those people, you know, that's fine and dandy. It is their personal property, and it is their obligation to come and get their belongings. That is really not the levee district's responsibility to take care of it. They should be responsible for their own belongings, but we are willing to assist. It's a community effort to be able to clean up this whole parish, and we want to do what we can. So that's where they're at.
Okay, and are there any paperwork that they maybe arranged to release that property that can be signed?
Yeah, we've had several individuals who just has been beyond damage and really beyond recovery. It's going to break up as soon as you start pulling and pushing on it. And we have some forms, you know, they can acknowledge that they're relinquishing their property and they turning it over as a abandoned situation, and we'll deal with it and get it in debris just like general debris that we're doing with the rest of the debris on the levee.
Okay, and as far as, I guess, a time period for, you know, getting that removal plan approved and actually getting the property off of the levees, what's are y'all thinking is a reasonable time to get the people to remove their property?
We'd like to work with them, and we'd like the people the own individuals to recover their property would be the best bet. And as long as they have a plan, we'd be willing to work with them. But if there are some pieces of property that are not spoken for within the next 30 days or so, we're gonna declare that as abandoned property, and we're gonna move on with a plan to remove those vessels or whatever you know, tanks and whatnot from the levee at that time.
Now that the storm has passed, that doesn't mean, I guess, the dangers are all have been removed. There's still a lot of damage left out there from storms. I believe you have something to tell us a little bit about what took place today.
Well, what we've been focusing on over here is primarily the debris on the levees, and this 6.5 miles of levees parallels Bayou Petit Caillou, or Bayou Little Caillou. And about 4 of the 6.5 miles, the levee is right against the bayou, but on the more northern reaches, it veers away closer to Bayou Terrebonne. But there's a lot of debris in Bayou Petit Caillou. In Bayou Little Caillou is full of camps and sunken boats and 18-wheelers, which is not even being addressed in this. This is going to be addressed by the parish FEMA debris contractor. So it's a very, very dangerous situation. And just about 3 hours ago this happened, this afternoon, you had a tugboat coming down Bayou Petit Caillou that hit a camp, a sunken camp in the middle of the bayou. The camp started floating and started going towards the Placid Canal floodgate, and we now have a cold front. So the water was trying to rush out of the floodgate, and this camp almost got stuck in the floodgate and could have damaged the floodgate. So you can see that's a roof and a camp in the water. Thank God that our debris contractor is Sea Level Construction. They had that little small tug was trying to push against it, but all you could do is couldn't move. And the other bigger tug was nearby. So we got 2 of our contract tugs that went and pushed this camp out of the way so it would not damage the floodgate or impede these efforts. So besides all the levee hazards and this debris cleanup on levees, you also have a lot of debris and hazards in the bayou, especially that bayou. The lower, below Boudreaux Canal and Bayou Little Caillou, I would not suggest somebody coming with a large commercial shrimp vessel or something, because you're going to hit something. I mean,
And that happened just a few hours ago, and that tugboat that you showed in the picture, that was the one was helping with the recovery, not the one that actually hit.
no, that's right.
hit
That's
it.
one that was hired by the levee district on the quotes that Brendan Arsenault took to move the debris from the levees over to the leased location along Highway 56. So he was at the right, captain of that tug was at the right place at the right time and averted what could have been a very serious post-hurricane problem for might have taken days to settle.
And as my understanding, it happened, after the phone call, you had a phone call that this camp was floating towards the floodgate. You only had a few minutes, I guess, to get out there and figure out what was going on and get somebody on the spot.
That's right.
And that, it's amazing, and congratulations for the work that y'all were able to do, and thank again to Sea Level that was able to get out there in time to prevent that. Again, that could have ended up, like you said, in the floodgate, and I imagine that would cause problems if you had to try to close the floodgate.
You couldn't close the floodgate. We'd have had to hire tugs to destroy a camp or get it in maybe a crane, or I don't know what we would have done if it had got stuck in the channel.
Okay. Now, again, we talked a little bit earlier about some of the damages to the floodgates that happened because of the unique circumstances of the storm. Can you tell us, where, the levee district's at in regards to storm readiness with those floodgates?
The two floodgates which are almost operable that were not is the HNC Bubba Dove, but is back in Dulac. The emergency repairs have been done. The pivot pile is hooked to the pivot pile. The winches have been rehooked up. I believe for an emergency, at least with tugboats, we can close that one. Humboldt Canal, I think by tomorrow, in the next 2 or 3 days, we should be, by the end of this week, and, everything should be operational. But this winter, during the interim period between hurricane seasons, we will have to dry dock the Bubba Dove floodgate and maybe in some of the other ones. The Cocodrie floodgate structurally had no problems, but it did all the hydraulics and mechanical components all went underwater, and we having to change all the pumps and hydraulic units and everything on that one. But it is operational. It takes a little longer to close and open, but we can now if we do have an event. I think, thank God this week we have this, we have a cool front that's gonna, blow the water out the north, blow the water out of here, and I think by early next week we'll be ready, if we have to close the whole system.
Okay, sounds good. We only have a couple of months left, hurricane season, but as we saw last year, you can't really, turn away from at the end of hurricane season, because they can come, all the way up in November.
Yeah, you can get them almost all the way to Thanksgiving, but now we're on the downslope. September 10th is the peak of hurricane season. So now we're as these cold fronts are coming, your chances or odds of having a major hurricane are going to start to diminish.
Okay. Now, before we go, I guess one last mention, if we can mention that number again one more time for anybody who is looking to locate their property that may have been found on a levee. Sergeant, if you can give me that number one more time on who to contact and where to call.
It's going to be the number for the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office. Number is 876-2500.
Okay, and again, if it is your property that is out there, again, you're going to have 30 days from once the levee district publishes that notice out there of all the list of properties, the different types of kayaks and vessels that haven't been identified for any specific owner. So stay tuned for that, and you'd have to make sure to call in and claim that, or it will be disposed of by the levee district. Thanks again for joining us. Stay tuned for more right here on HTV.